The Tanzanite sold out, but we knew that, Carol.
Yeah.
We knew that would go. If you are buying anything $279 and up tonight, you of course can take advantage of 12 months VIP financing. One of those items is actually going to be our next item, I do believe. Our next collection, maybe I should say. We're going to spend a few moments on some of the finest ruby that Carol's ever been able to do in her collection. There are a choice of ring, earrings, they're both, oh, this is free shipping as well. That's fantastic.
How did we get all that free shipping?
I don't know. Carol, it wasn't there before. I'm not kidding. This is great news. So, lowest price ever. The ring is in sizes 5 through 10. And obviously, for any lady, any woman, it would be wonderful to own ruby, beautiful quality ruby. It's one of the big three, one of the kings when it comes to the world of gemstones. The earrings have a gorgeous drop down of about an inch or so they're fun, they're flirty, they are highly desirable and truly elegant. The ring, I think if you can swing it, you should do it. It's $199. Just so you know, the earrings are priced at $1,600. We're at $859. The ring appraised at just shy of $500. Carol, yes, ruby, but more so even to the color of ruby. It's that beautiful, passionate red that has always attracted people for thousands of years.
I kind of love it next to Victoria's blouse because you get to see how beautiful that red really is. So this is Mozambique or African Mozambique ruby. It was African rubies, Mozambique rubies have become so incredibly desirable, and that is because of their ruby red. They're rich. You know, we like to say pigeon blood red, but I don't think they're pigeon blood. I think they're apple, like jelly apple red.
Nice.
Don't you?
Nice.
And they've got a glossiness to them. They are equally saturated within all the natural gemstones. So we've hand selected all matching rubies. Now, attention, this is really important. These are not glass-filled.
Say it again, Carol.
These are not glass-filled rubies. These are not the ones that, you know, when you get it home from a jewelry store, and we sell them as well, they're not fracture-filled, they're not glass-filled. This is real natural ruby. So when you talk about an heirloom, the word heirloom means that you're gonna pass it down for generations, and people are gonna talk about my aunt, my mom, my grandma, anybody else who passed down a ring. And to me, when I wear a piece of jewelry from my grandma, from my aunt who are no longer here, or from my mom who, thank God, is here, when I wear a piece of estate jewelry, when I wear real ruby or I have like real emerald, I say to myself, how special I feel, because most of the time in our generation, we have, you know, they didn't have to buy iPhones and computers and all those electronics back then like we have to buy now. And so there's not that much disposable income left today to be able to buy new heirlooms. Rubies were so coveted. They are known as the king of gems. They are the gem of passion. They are the gem of love. This is a forever heirloom design. It's got an estate and antique look. It's all natural white zircon.
I'm not concerned about the earrings selling out, but that ring is a hit. The ring is a hit at $199. If you do want to do the flex pay just before they're gone, the flex is $49 and change. And you can do a fifth flex if you use the HSN card. The earrings are spectacular, obviously.
Oh my God, they're gorgeous.
But dollar for dollar, the $199 on the ring, I think is very tasty.
You know, that's what you would pay for glass-filled rubies. But these are natural Mozambique ruby. They're completely natural. Now, if you're thinking about, okay, I want to wear that ring all the time because I want it to be my new like engagement ring or my anniversary ring or my signature ring, well, guess what? Ruby registers a 9 on the Mohs scale. So next to a diamond, ruby is the second hardest gemstone. So you really don't have to worry at all about wearing this all the time. Then the platinum wear of this ring. So while it is sterling silver, it's plated in rhodium. Rhodium is how the finest jewelers in the world plate the platinum that they use, again, platinum being one of the most expensive precious metals in the world. They plate platinum with rhodium to keep its luster and to let it wear well. And that's what we've done with the sterling silver on this ring.
I hope you enjoy it, really. See it in the